One more equanimity. To lead the bliss of life, you must seek equanimity. In basic terms, equanimity is achieving serenity and mental calmness in a world filled with stresses. But it's much more than that. Equanimity is the quiet glue that underpins a lot of the other ideas in this book. To reach the highest level of these strategies, you must do so with advanced degree of equanimity. I am a strong proponent of equanimity, and I think you should be too. The essence of equanimity. Equanimity originates from Latin word having an even mind. It is the result of a combining even and mind. So, searching for an even mind and soul is elusive virtue. People spend lifetimes in search of equanimity, me included. I have struggled to find calmness throughout my life. For me, finding equanimity is easier in low-stress situations. However, it's a lot more valuable when I can summon it under duress. By better understanding what equanimity is and putting it into practice, my paths to success take less time and are more frequent and substantial. Started with this fact, we can control the vast majority of what goes on in our lives. We can dream, set standards and goals, and adjust our thinking and actions a dozen different ways. What we can do is control outcomes despite our best efforts. For many people, the natural response is disappointment, frustration, despair, and anger. Nobody is immune from those feelings at one time or another. But what if you could raise your awareness about your way to condition your brain and your response to outside forces and outcomes? What if you didn't let setbacks, negativity impact you? What if you rose above bad outcomes in a positive and rational mental state, impervious to those setbacks? That is a sense of equanimity. When faced with a difficult situation, such as a stressful phone call, a poor meeting, and financial setback, or relationship challenge, the highest achievers can find equanimity when others can. Why do some elite performers rise at an even higher level in crunch time and why others would? Equanimity is the invisible separator between super elite performers and those who are average or ordinary. Think of it this way. A lot of pitchers have an easier time striking out the batters in the first inning with nobody on base and versus facing home run hitter with the bases loaded in the ninth. Everyone can find degrees of equanimity most of the time. One of the things that separates them from high achievers is that high achievers can find equanimity when they need it the most. Equanimity is one of the world's oldest philosophies, and its elements are present in many religions. In Christianity, we often look to each other and say, "Peace be with you," or "The peace of Christ be with you." There are countless examples in the Bible. Okay, equanimity is also woven into several Eastern Indian religions. For example, Hinduism asks beliefs to abandon all attachments to success or failure. Elements in yoga teach that equanimity is attainable through regular meditation and mental disciplines that clear the mind and bring it close to a healthy balance. Judaism places importance on equanimity as a necessary foundation for spiritual and moral development. Equanimity as a spiritual philosophy is one of the humanity's deep-seated pillars. It is a spiritual belief that has been taught and the present for centuries. Before delving deeper into the individual elements of equality, it's necessary to recognize how it has been woven into society for millennia. The elements of equality is one thing to say that you should aim for one more level of equality. It's quite another to understand how you should get there. Like any challenge, begin by breaking a big concept like equality into smaller parts that will add clarity and simplicity and make it easier to accept equality in its entirety. I just study equality and how it relates to your beliefs and religion. Some elements of it may or may not resonate with you. I am going to give you some overarching principles, but it's up to you to decide how best to approach your vision of equality in a way that makes the most sense to you. Here are several key points to consider. Equality is about finding serenity as you battle the challenges in your life. You are going to get tossed about. That's life, and there is no hiding from it. While you can control outside forces, you can be mindful of how you think and react to them. Yes, that's true. This awareness lets us quiet our minds. Serenity is about accepting there are some things we simply can't change. Finding serenity requires some practice. Meditation towards equanimity requires that you consciously release preferences for against all things. Your actions are guided more by your values and virtues instead of your desires that are reactions to positive or negative feelings. Equanimity is about recognizing impermanence. No matter what is happening in your life right now, it won't last forever. Life is all about change and impermanence. When you recognize this, you understand that good times and bad will pass through your life. Clinging to the good or the bad can only lead to pain. It's easy to understand how hanging on to the bad creates pain, but recognize that even you hang on to the good, it can also be a source of a pain when it leaves. Equality is about doing away with the permanence and the pain associated with it. Equanimity creates a space of awareness that lets every piece of stimulation come and go. Thoughts are just thoughts. Sounds are only sounds. People are just being themselves, and events are only events. Equanimity reminds us of our insignificance. We often place way too much focus on ourselves. When we are able to come to grips that we are only one small part of the vast human condition, it liberates us from the pressure we place on ourselves. Our fears shrink when we put them into perspective. We don't run from pain or avoid any blame or loss within such vigor. We accept our state and work to a balance in our lives with added calmness. Equanimity is about letting go. If your challenge or setback in your life is heavy, set it down. Let it go. Learn how to detach it from negative beliefs, resentment, pain, and hurt. 짜증 또. Equanimity is about finding serenity as you battle the challenges in your life. You're going to get tossed about. That's life, and there is no hiding from it. While we can control outside forces, we can be mindful of how we think and react to them. This awareness lets us quiet our minds. Serenity is about accepting there are some things we simply can't change. Finding serenity requires practice. Meditation toward equanimity requires that you consciously release preferences for or against all things. Your actions are guided more by your values and virtues instead of your desires that are reactions to positive or negative feelings. Equanimity is about recognizing impermanence. No matter what is happening in your life right now, it won't last forever. Life is all about change and impermanence. I'm sorry. When you recognize this, you understand the good times and the bad will pass through your life. Clinging to the good or the bad can only lead to pain. It's easy to understand how hanging on to the bad creates pain. But recognize that when you're hanging on to good, it can also be a source of pain when it leaves. Oh, okay. Equanimity is about doing away with the permanence and the pain associated with it. Equanimity creates inner space awareness that lets every piece of stimulation come and go. Thoughts are just thoughts, sounds are only sounds. People are just being themselves, and the events are only events. Equanimity reminds us of our insignificance. We often place way too much focus on ourselves when we are able to come to griefs that we are only one small part of the vast human condition. It liberates us from the pressures we place on ourselves. Our fears shrink when we put them into perspective. We don't run from pain and avoid the blame or loss with such vigor. We accept our state and work toward balance in our lives with added calmness. Equanimity is about letting go. If a challenge or setback in your life is heavy, set it down. Let it go. Learn how to detach from negative beliefs, resentment, pain, and hurt. One of the four noble truths proclaimed by Buddha is an attachment is the origin of suffering. The attachment to desire or the attachment to desire not to have something but create anxiety and fear. Letting go of both of and accepting what comes into your life, good and bad, release us from prison of our thoughts. Equanimity embraces a change. Instead of getting stuck in the status quo, recognize that you are fertilized in the winds of change. Acceptance of change, which is inevitable, brings about peace. Fighting change is waste of time. These concepts only scratch the surface of equanimity. If you're interested, I strongly encourage you to dig deeper. There are whole libraries. There are whole libraries on equanimity and how it is pictured in so many cultures and religions. The more you know about equanimity, the greater your potential for one more level of equanimity in your life. As a part of your further exploration, looking at the eight worlds wins an excellent place to start. Okay, pleasure and the pain, praise and the blame, gain and loss, fame and disgrace. The goal of equanimity is to listen the effects these winds have in your mind that occurs to one extent or the other every day. Example of a worldly winds might be we fall madly in love only to find that our lover has cheated on us. Our success can be exciting, but it could also lead to arrogance. We get a big promotion at work, only to have the company bankrupt in 6 months later. We root hard for sports hearing a famous musician and then discover they have a severe drug problem, a criminal past, or the unexpected passaway such as the Kobe Bryant did. We must balance good and bad so that while we recognize the good news, we also understand it isn't permanent. We accept that the world will balance things over time. In this way, we neither get too high or too low when we react to these events. This is to say, we shouldn't feel joy or happiness when something good happens. We just need to put it into perspective. Equanimity allows us to do that. Without equanimity as a governor, going back and forth is exhausting. The goal is a complete mental calmness. Sometimes we can reach that state, but since the pursuit of equanimity is a lifelong venture, we must refine our approach and the course correction as we go along. All 8 worldly winds are teachers, and from spiritual point of view, we need all 8 in our lives. Without one half of the pair, the other ceases to exist or carries no meaning. However, too much in a preoccupation with the 8 worldly winds is considered a barrier to equanimity. Being too caught up in them creates an emotionally instability. Equanimity attempts to steer a course down the middle of each of these pairs. It does not entirely fall in line with one side or the other. Equanimity accepts the reality of each wind without following it. The realization is that the winds are not permanent, and when they change, it's easier to respond with more flexibility. All of this philosophy is well and good. However, you must decide what's your relationship with equanimity now and in the future. Okay, your relationship with equanimity. When it comes to equanimity, people generally fall into one of the 4 categories: aggressive and with equanimity, aggressive and lacking equanimity, passive with equanimity, passive and lacking equanimity. Of these, there's only one ideal state you should target: aggressive and with equanimity. If you're passive, equanimity won't help you much other than to be the nagging part of the brain that reminds you that you are too laid back and calm to accomplish anything significant in your life. You must bring a certain level of tenacity to your life. You don't have to turn up the dial to 10 at all times, but you must lead a life where you get stuff done. I mentioned at the beginning of this chapter that happened. Always approach the life with enough equanimity. I admit that I was such a hard charger that I threw my life out of balance and I didn't even know at the time. Sure, I got stuff done. I made a lot of money, but I paid a higher price than I needed to buy. Not practicing equanimity for many years. The journey to equanimity does not happen overnight. As I learned, it requires years of being mindful and intentional in your thoughts and actions. One more thing is also understand equanimity is not permanent. It's a fleeting and will come and go as various challenges occur in your life. You will move between degrees of equanimity from day to day and moment to moment. My goal is to make sure you don't go through life without enough equanimity as I did. Find the peace and the mental calmness as soon as you can. Your relationship with equanimity is the force that makes many other good things possible in your life. Okay.